Right, what's going on, people? Welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. You will notice this is a different format. I am having technical difficulties on the usual camera setup, so therefore we're using different camera equipment, a different angle, and I'm going full Copper 90 comments below for those of you who used to watch that YouTube content. Sitting back, it feels kind of weird in the office. I've got some Chelsea news stories lined up on the iPad, so I'm going to sort of take you through. It will still be kind of like relaxed format content. I probably won't do like overlays in terms of the stories I'm referencing here, but I'll tell you where I'm getting it from and we'll just sort of go through that way. I'm looking on a tiny little screen. It looks completely different, but who knows, maybe you guys will enjoy this as well. A little bit, I like to diversify content when I can. So welcome on back. Today, in today's Chelsea news videos, we're going through a bunch of stuff. Football.London speaking about Frank Lampard, how he could come in for some Chelsea players for his Coventry team, who are not just on the verge of promotion, but winning the championship. Like, what a good sort of feel-good story that is at the moment for Frank. And that's coming from Football.London. And, maybe you can help us out with some players that we feel aren't good enough for Chelsea. There's some other crazy stuff. Giovanni Kenda, of course, he will come to Chelsea in the summer, but he could be making a return for Sporting soon to face Arsenal in the Champions League. There's a way to become a Chelsea fan favourite very early doors, young Giovanni. Malagusto has spoken on international duty about the sacking of Enzo Maresca, or should I say the parting, as we are led to believe it was a sort of parting of ways, let's say, whichever you believe. And there's conflicting reports. Chelsea make Liam Rosenior sack U-turn on football transfers. Now, spoiler, the main briefing from the club is they're not going to sack him. That's what they're doing to, the Telegraph, to the Athletic, to all these kind of broadsheet papers. But our old friend, who I'd said I won't reference anymore, IndyCar is saying otherwise, which is a basically social media account. It's less about that. I mean, that account often spouts nonsense, but it's more about the discussion point of will he go, basically, which of course a lot of Chelsea fans, much like the ownership and the sporting directors, have got little to no belief left in the manager. So we'll get into that as well. It is maybe we'll talk about this Cole Palmer story. Many of you will have seen this. It originally came from The Sun, how Cole Palmer is disillusioned with Chelsea and is primed to leave in the summer. Now, what could be easily true is he is disillusioned at Chelsea. I don't think anyone would find that particularly hard to believe with how things are going at the moment. But he is contracted till 2032 or 3. And again, if you want to speak about briefings to the likes of Ben Jacobs and other people say Cole Palmer is untouchable, he cannot leave. And although I do believe perhaps he is disillusioned, I would assume Cole Palmer's still young enough and still fresh enough from his first season at Chelsea, his last season at Chelsea, which won a couple of trophies. I would assume Cole Palmer is still grateful to Chelsea Football Club for the move and for what it cultivated as him as a player. Ultimately, who knows what would have happened to Cole if he never went to Chelsea? Would he even be getting called up to England? Do you know what I mean? So we'll talk a little bit about that. But a little call to action. Thank you as always for joining me and supporting the content. Everyone's welcome here on Football Therapy, so I'm glad to have you. Do consider liking and subscribing if you want to stick around for the ride, my friends. All right then. So let's hop into it. Let's start off with Football.London. This is Harry Brent speaking about Frank Lampard's Coventry. Quite a feel-good story at the moment. Frank doing excellent work with Coventry City, looking like he's gonna not just get them back into the Premier League, but also win the title. I think they're a few points clear at the top of the Championship table. But he's reportedly looking at Chelsea players. Now, this wouldn't be the first time he's done this. I think probably not so much sure how much he did at Everton, but certainly Derby, when he first got that job from Mel Morris in the Championship. He took Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori, anyone else? I think Ashley Cole went there, but not that he needed to get Chelsea's permission. But he certainly made some calls, and of course we got Harry Wilson on loan as well. And apparently he'll be turning. His relationship remains good with Chelsea. Of course, he came back as an interim manager under the new owners. Obviously, he was a manager under Roman Abramovich, he was sacked by Roman, but Roman did like a nice message in the announcements, which he'd never done to any other coach, which was testament to the affection towards Lampard. Although, oddly, he never spoke to Lampard once. I think it was Jody Morris recently went on some media on an interview and said, never once did he speak to Abramovich, and he was Chelsea manager, which I did think was pretty wild, actually. But he came back obviously under Clearlake and Bowley. It was that crazy time where he only got one win, but that wasn't really a reflection on Frank. That was a reflection on how just mental and untenable the situation was at Chelsea. He seems to have a good relationship with the Chelsea owners and probably will be looking to take advantage and get some deals, one would think. Now, I'm not going to read you necessarily the article here, but I'm going to read you the players, like the subcategory. First of all, Philip Jorgensen, the goalkeeper. So with highly rated Mike Penders returning to Chelsea this summer after a bright spell at Strasbourg, Jorgensen's position looks increasingly uncertain. Yeah, no doubt. The Danish goalkeeper has served as the Blues' number 2 since arriving from Villarreal in 2024, and Penders' return is likely to push him further down the pecking order. Jorgensen actually did bench Sanchez for under Maresca very briefly, and indeed recently under Rosenior. Both times didn't serve him because instability with goalkeepers is mental. Now, if Penders is good enough, great, but I still would buy a new goalkeeper. Carl Rushworth has had a solid season between the sticks for Coventry, though he is expected to head back to Brighton once his loan ends. So they need a goalkeeper. Jorgensen, I think, if he's a starting goalkeeper for a Premier League team, that's probably good enough for his international team starting place, you'd assume, like to get into the 11. We spent £20 million on Jorgensen. That is mental. 20 million quid, bro. I mean, 25 million on Rob Sanchez. I mean, individually, in terms of how you talk about the market, it doesn't sound crazy, but for just wasted. Goalkeepers are generally cheaper. We should have spent 45 million on an actual goalkeeper. We should have bought Mike Mignon. Hindsight's 2020. I know Rob Sanchez had a good Club World Cup, but yeah, I mean, obviously, if Coventry go up, they're not paying us £20 million for Jorgensen. It will probably be like a loan with an option to buy for like 12 million or something like that because it's Coventry. Next up, so this one you probably won't like, gang. Josh Achampong. Chelsea fans might balk at the thought of allowing Achampong to leave, but the young defender is in clear need of regular minutes. So I guess the argument here would be he wouldn't be sold to Coventry. He'd go on loan to play under Frank Lampard. During his time at Chelsea, Frank Lampard handed senior debuts to the likes of Reece James. I remember I was there at Stamford Bridge when he scored his first goal against Grimsby. It was 7-1. That's a good goal at the end. Reece James, Mason Mount, Mark Gurhey, Fikayo Tomori, Tammy Abraham. I don't actually think he gave Fikayo Tomori his debut. I think someone else did, possibly. Anyway, Billy Gilmore, Ian Martson. There is others as well, because there's like Armando Bruya, and there's loads of other players. Frank's got this insane list of debuts from Chelsea Academy products. Coventry could offer Achampong a similar platform to develop. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if we sign another high-profile centre-back, who have we got then? Trevo, I know Wesley Fofana's not a big fan favourite at the moment, but Levi, Badia Shield's got to go. Mamadou Sarr apparently is highly rated. I still think we'll be short if we let Josh go. Maybe we'll buy 2 centre-backs, I don't know. And maybe Aaron Anselmino comes back and actually plays for Chelsea. He is highly rated. Now, this is an interesting one. Dario Asugo. I mean, we only just signed Asugo in the double deal for him and Giovanni Kenda. He's meant to be the legitimate backup for Caicedo, as in like this destructive, interceptive defensive midfielder that really we only have him. In terms of like Santos, he's not really Caicedo. Lavia is not really Caicedo. Isugo is meant to be the rotational backup, but he's been injured. He's not given a chance. But in theory, he will be given chances next season, and we won't overcook and like, overplay Caicedo. So I'm not sure I'd sign off on that massively. Tariq George, the winger. I mean, obviously, again, you try and sell Tariq George, but if you say to Ty, you stay in the Premier League next season, you go and play for Frank Lampard, again, probably alone, that probably would make sense. Now, Mark Gue as a striker, this one would I think would really, a lot of Chelsea fans would be happy with. Now, many Chelsea fans would say, I'll start Mark Gue over the likes of Delap, but even though we like Gue, he's a bit of an old school throwback striker. He just needs a lot of minutes, I think. Just he needs the kind of minutes that just Chelsea will not be able to give him regardless, in my opinion. And I think if you said that Mark Gue to go and play for Frank Lampard's Coventry and get lots of minutes, whether he's the starting striker or not, but he's just a striker that will get a lot of chances, a lot of substitute appearances, a lot of 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? I think that would probably be a really good move. I always thought he needed a championship loan, Gue, but if Coventry go up and if Frank Lampard thinks he can use him, then why the ruddy heck not? Now, speaking, of course, I referenced Dario Isugo there. We got him in the double deal to sign him and the pre-agreement for the Sporting Lisbon teenage winger sensation Giovanni Kenda. Of course, he's been actually at Chelsea at Cobham doing his rehabilitation lately. He's back and could be available soon. And so, obviously, the natural inclination is saying, oh, we need wingers. Oh, yeah, he's not actually our player yet. He's just doing rehab here. He goes back to play for Sporting. So Giovanni could make his comeback for Sporting Lisbon against Arsenal. This is on the ChelseaChronicle.com. Kenda's first match since picking up his foot injury in December is likely to be against Arsenal in the Champions League. And this is according to Ebola. Kenda arrived back in Portugal on Saturday, yesterday at time of recording. And the first leg of the Sporting Champions League is earmarked as a return date. What an opportunity, because he has been starting big games for Sporting, playing quite well, looking very, very exciting. In a really difficult time supporting Chelsea, you get these little dopamine hits where you can, maybe Arsenal slipping up here and there, hopefully, Tottenham getting relegated, hopefully Man United finding some poor form and sliding, like Liverpool, just, really trying to get your fun from Schadenfreude, as it were. But, imagine if he comes back into the Sporting team and dunks on Arsenal in the Champions League. I mean, nothing will make me feel better than that, I must say. Well, apparently, apart from Chelsea actually becoming a Premier League winning team again. That's top of the list. But in the meantime, if we can cause some pain to the rivals, that would be nice. Right, next up, I want to speak about what Malo Gusto said in an interview while on international duty. And we can end on a little bit more sort of these silly gossip rumours about both Rosenior and Cole Palmer. So we'll sort of go to those afterwards, mate. So I'm going to be reading the Malo Gusto quotes of an article of ESPN. Chelsea's Malo Gusto defends top coach Liam Rosenior. Now, we've all been talking about our opinions on the Chelsea coach. And if you remember, a coach that I was really backing in terms of the guy, I know he's become a bit of a meme. I do not think he's a Graham Potter type. He's much more charismatic and assertive than Graham Potter. But at the same time, of course, he's much more David Brent and high performance than Graham Potter, which is saying something. He comes up with a lot of cringe, but he sort of wears it well, easy for me to say. He'll joke about it afterwards. I'm sure he'll talk about respecting the ball at some point and joke about it. Do you know what I mean? He seems to sort of banter it well, and apparently it doesn't affect him. We will see. If you've watched my content, gang, you'll know I've got huge reservations about Liam Rosenior now. A guy that I like his politics, I like how he speaks, and the players like him, and the Cole Palmer, who we'll be speaking about, was saying, "Oh, life under Liam's amazing." Maybe a bit of a dig at Enzo Maresca. You've seen how he's done great work with Joao Pedro. I mean, if he left today, Liam Rosenior, his biggest legacy will be Joao Pedro's form, even though it's dropped off recently. I wouldn't even put that down to Joao Pedro. I'd put that down to just Chelsea as an entity. But he's shown us what Joao Pedro could be. That would genuinely be his legacy. Not a few wins, not the bad losses, it would be the Joao Pedro for me. But Malo Gusto has been interviewed about him while he's away on France duty. Excuse me, I'm going to read the quotes here rather than read the actual ESPN article. A lot of it's just going over, already trodden ground, like miserable losses to PSG and Everton. We don't need to keep highlighting that every single day, do we? Gusto defended Rosenior, though, when spoken and interviewed about him, and insisted that the players are all behind him. Doesn't look like it on the pitch, though, gang, does it? It looks like despondent, lost players. He did speak to ESPN saying the following: I think he, Rosenior, is a top coach. I saw that a lot of people have criticised him. I haven't really understand why he's been criticised so much. Excuse me. I've worked with him and a lot since joining Chelsea. I think he's a top person, first of all. A top manager as well. And as you say, he is young. He has a lot of things for the future, but if he is Chelsea manager, it's because he has the talent for this. I'd say pause. If he's the Chelsea... I understand why Malo's saying this, but he's the Chelsea manager because, without trying to be too sort of churlish or... He's the Chelsea manager because he's the Blueco guy. He's a talented coach that I said, all things going well and it going in a way that Chelsea fans are happy with, that he could still be Chelsea manager one day, but perhaps it came too soon. He started quite well though, and we thought, maybe it can work. And it hasn't felt great since things have been on the turn. Like I said, I was really rooting for Liam, but unless he really finds some form immediately straight after the international break, I think he might be cooked. And I'll speak about that probably at the end of this video. As I said before, Malo continues. For us as a team, we have to believe in him, believe in the way we played, and stick to our plan and see how it goes. The plan is failing, G. He is a good person, which is true, I genuinely believe that. He's really honest, really simple. You can see that he is really passionate. He wants us to share this passion of football, and I feel like I want to play for him. I want to show my best when he puts us on the pitch. That's nice. That's nice. He does speak about Maresca. He says it was a bit complicated in the middle of the season when Enzo Maresca was sacked. So that is him saying. I don't know if that's a direct quotation, but ESPN are using the word sacked. So a new coach coming in now, it was a big change for the team. Everyone was a bit surprised, I'll be honest. But in football this can happen, so we'll have to adapt. This is what we've tried to do before the international break. It was a tough few weeks for us in terms of results and not what we expected. Yeah, for you as players, but I'd ask you as us, as fans, worse, mate. Against PSG, there are a few games in the Premier League against Newcastle and Everton that we lost. He said it's been hard changing system when you understand one way and then you have to change. It's a little bit more difficult for us because we have a little bit less experience. This is all on the Chelsea hierarchy. I understand how Liam Rosenior is supposed to be minimal change, but it's still a managerial change. A lot of us are young, but we have the quality to deal with this. We just have to trust the process. Oh! There's that line. That makes me feel sick, and do our best to put Chelsea where it's supposed to be. Yeah, look. It can go both ways, can't it? I think we will learn very quickly, and I'm going to end on Rosenior in just a moment about him being sacked. Look, man. Cole Palmer's stance and Manchester United's transfer saga revealed as Chelsea sent message. This isn't on the Metro, but this came from Luckhurst in The Sun. Palmer is becoming frustrated by the tactical changes and was unhappy with the departure of Nicholas Jackson, who joined Bayern Munich on loan in the summer. Right, this is, I think... I know he put some flame emojis on his post today, but... And look, Palmer is almost certainly disillusioned and annoyed with what's going on. That's not the thing here. But Palmer was visibly fuming with Nicholas Jackson on the pitch. He used to shout, Nico! And that chemistry under Pochettino seemed long lost. And Nico was doing snapshots, not playing in Palmer. When Palmer was playing well, we saw this. Let's not rewrite history. I would turn to Jonathan Ross there. History. Let's remember what was actually happening. And Palmer was visibly frustrated with Nicholas Jackson on the pitch. And we've seen him play with Joao Pedro, and he's talked about how they're really close off the pitch, how he loves playing with him. if he said, I would put the farm on, if he said, Cole Palmer is starting a big game tomorrow, do you want to start with Jackson or Joao Pedro? He'll say Joao Pedro. Unless maybe he's thinking, it should be Nico here instead of Liam Delap, which is another thing entirely, but they're supposed to still have a good relationship from their days back at the Man City Academy. They were supposed to be, and not just playing for Man City, Palmer and Delap, but also playing for England youth levels together on the way up. So it's not like there's some random geezer who he doesn't know or like. He's assisted in bunch before in football matches. Look, we've heard these stories before that Palmer's disillusioned, he wants to go to Manchester United, and Cole himself came out and said people like to talk a lot of rubbish or some sort of expletives. And that he's like, last time he scored for Chelsea, he was kissing the away fans and, touching the bed. It's as much as, of course, any and all players could be upset with what's going on right now at Chelsea because we're playing poor and it looks bad and it looks lost and we all look bereft of confidence. But this is just the sun and the international break combining forces to come out with that. Like I said at the top of the content, I think Cole Palmer would genuinely be grateful to Chelsea for picking him off Man City's bench, for giving him the number 10, for giving him a pay rise, for we learned about how his contract is structured in such a way where actually he can earn loads and loads of money, for making him an England international. And you could be like, yeah, he did that himself, but Chelsea gave him the chance. We took the shot on him and we gave him the platform and kept funneling the energy in him like, you're the boy, made him the face in the Club World Cup. He won the trophies last season. Look, if Chelsea continue to doing what we're doing now, and the owners continue to fail, the sporting directors continue to fail, the protest is one of many, on the 18th is one of many. Do you know what I mean? If that keeps happening, Cole Palmer, doesn't matter what the briefings to the Telegraph, to the Athletic, to Ben Jacobs are saying Palmer's untouchable. If this keeps happening, Palmer will be like, I'm leaving because I am a really good footballer and this is BS basically. And he'll put on a transfer request on the table. But me personally, I think we're nowhere near that. But it's not for Chelsea to say, he's under contract for a long, long time. Chelsea do hold all the cards, but it's up to them to keep him happy because like every other football club, you don't want miserable players. And if they stop playing for you, you have to sell them. So it is on Chelsea to do that. Now, Cole Palmer, when asked about Liam Rosenior, he did say life under Liam is amazing. That were his words, Cole. It did seem like, I feel like a bit of a pointed dig at Enzo Maresca. Now, we know certain players really liked Maresca. Most notably, it was Marc Cucurella and Enzo Fernandez. Of course, all Spanish speakers. 3 different internationals, but obviously all communicated in Spanish and were very close. And Enzo was very upset when Maresca was sacked, despite a poor run of form that Chelsea were in. He was close to him. But there was murmurs that not all Chelsea players were upset that Maresca went, if you know what I mean. And Cole didn't do a goodbye message. And then, we start under Rosenior. Apparently he gives them much more freedom and it's not like stringent Italian manager tactics, which, by the way, might not necessarily be a good thing after all if we just have open chasms in midfield where, Livramento can play easy balls straight through. Like I said, we'll learn. Now, of course, all the stories are saying the Telegraph, the BBC Sport, Nizar Kinsella, the Telegraph, Matt Law, the Athletic, Liam Twomey, Simon Johnson, Keris Jones, I believe the name is, all them are all saying Liam's not going anywhere. Now, I hate referencing this account, Indy Kyler, on X, because it just chats breeze. It's like Fichajes, the Spanish publication. They just come out with the most sensationalist stuff that seemingly never comes to pass. You can just sort of get away with just making up stuff. But I did want to talk about this because it's suggesting that Rosenior's job is under threat. And I do believe it, man. Because there is a way we sort of limp over the season and sort of don't reach the targets, but sort of look okay. And they keep him and they back him. There is a scenario where we finish the season and they go, actually, this isn't good enough. They sack them. I think there's a scenario where he gets sacked soon. Genuinely. And look, we're playing Port Vale as the first game back, which is a nice little palate cleanser at home, of course, as well. So we play Port Vale. we hopefully win, and then we're in the semi-final and go. Hopefully we better effing win, and then we're in a semi-final at Wembley. That's good. I'm just desperate for Chelsea to win the FA Cup again. I have been saying this for a while because we haven't won it for like the best part of a decade, and it's an amazing trophy. So you beat Port Vale at home and you get into the semi-final. But say we played the Manchester clubs, Man City and Man United. If we get embarrassed by both those teams, I genuinely think he can get sacked, because there'll still be a salvageable Champions League finish in there, which sounds crazy, and it could even be top 6. There's some permutations where top 6 gets the Premier League, Champions League qualifications. So if, for example, Port Vale will be a different game, it will be a rotated side, and the quality will be a chasm. If we lose to Port Vale, the mobs will come out. But let's just say we get slapped up by Man City and the players don't look like they know what they're doing, and then we get slapped up by Manchester United and the players don't look like, basically look as lost as they did on the pitch, and they're Everton 3-0 loss. If that happens twice to the Manchester clubs, I genuinely think they sack him. I do. I genuinely think, because they'll be like, oh my God, we need Champions League football for our model to work. And even if they just give it to McFarlane for the rest of the season, they'll be like, just do what you did before. Do you know what I mean? Do something different. Go 4-4-2 and just stink it up and try and, Cole Palmer playing in a runner on the break. And just don't concede goals. Stop conceding goals and just, use the quality and play transitional football and try and get over the line in the league. Do you know what I mean? I think there is a way that happens. Look, I'm a Chelsea fan, yeah. I want Chelsea to win, regardless. Yeah, even if I have a complete distrust and dislike to the hierarchy, I still want to watch Chelsea win games of football no matter what. I'll never be one of these fans that want my team to lose. I just don't have it in me. I watch football to watch Chelsea to win. You can be more interested in like the politics and the structure and this, that, and the other, but I watch Chelsea because I love football and I just want to watch Chelsea play as schoolgirls and win games. So, and I do genuinely like Liam Rosenior as a guy. My concern that he might not be capable to do it for Chelsea and he might get sacked is nothing personal. If he makes it, if he turns it around, if he finds a way and we win the FA Cup and get top 5, I'll be delighted for him and obviously Chelsea. But I'm not convinced at the moment. I think it's on a knife's edge, and it will be those 2 games really that will, decide what we'll do. Anyway, guys, I'll wrap it up here. It's been a long video. It's a 4K different style video, but hopefully you guys dig it. Thank you as always for hanging out with me, for liking and subscribing. Remember, you can check out this same content on podcast platforms simply by searching Football Therapy Podcast. I'll be really grateful if you go to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating and a follow. Similarly, if you use Apple Podcasts and have an iPhone or an iPad, if you could do that, because I've got like a few 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts too, but you just search Football Therapy Podcast. So I'm very grateful for all your support as always. See you soon. Peace.